Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to another episode of Vanilla Minecraft. And as you can see, we're over here at our fantasy biome today. We're going to try and expand this out a little bit and kind of work on the area, make it feel a little bit more like it's a growing project, and try and take advantage of the biome we have around us a little bit more. Thus far, we've stayed in a pretty concentrated area, right? Last time we were here, we expanded out our lake so we'd have more water to work with. And we haven't really left that, right? We worked on cattails or bulrushes, we added lily pads, a couple flowers next to it. The only thing that's not immediately connected to the lake is that little bush of flowers over there where we have our storage system. So I want to try and expand away from that today. I want to try and make the project feel like it's encompassing the entire biome rather than just this one body of water. However, before we do that, there is one thing I want to try and add to this, and it's going to be a little bit experimental. So, to be honest, this might turn out really, really awful. We might need to go back and change it, but it could also end up being really cool. I'm not entirely sure just yet. We're going to find out together. So, the idea, and this is going to sound quite bland and quite typical, but do bear with me. The idea is to add a waterfall. So I want to redo this cliff face over here and make it actually feel like a cliff. The similar treatment that we've done over on our islands and other places like that. Get rid of this kind of dirt hillside style that Minecraft tends to do. Make it feel a little bit more like an actual stone cliff face. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to make a big waterfall coming down, probably in 2 different tiers, and landing here in our lake. So that sounds pretty mundane. That sounds pretty run-of-the-mill, but what I actually want to do is make that waterfall out of concrete. More specifically, probably concrete powder, just so it has a little bit of texture. So that sounds pretty weird, right? That sounds like kind of a strange idea. But given the really crazy style that this biome has, where we have these giant colorful flowers and all of that, which of course we're going to be expanding upon, I think it could look interesting. Now, it might just look awful. It might just look really, really awful. It might look really strange with the terrain behind it. It's hard to say for sure, and that's why we're going to try it out today. Now, thankfully, in the worst-case scenario of the waterfall just looking really, really awful, it's going to be easy enough to fix. All I'll need to do is get rid of the concrete powder, put water in, and maybe give it a little bit more of an interesting shape. It won't be too hard to fix if it doesn't turn out okay. But if it does turn out okay, it's going to be a really, really cool feature of the area. So that's what I want to take care of first and foremost here today. I want to see what a concrete powder waterfall looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this area here, get rid of all of the dirt, turn it into a proper cliff face, add in our concrete powder waterfall, and we'll go from there. So that turns out interestingly, I suppose. That's one way of putting it. I don't think it's actually a terrible idea, though I do think that it needs to be on a slightly bigger scale to work really well. Because at the scale that we have, like, it's not tiny, but it's also not very large, right? Because it's the scale that it is, it means that every single block plays a really big role in the overall shape of the structure. So when we have like these little foam sprays where the waterfall lands or when it goes over a corner, it kind of feels weird because you can distinctly see each individual block. Like they play such a big role because they're such a big part of the build itself. So it feels a little weird. I think if this was twice the size, like the overall waterfall was twice the scale, and those were much smaller in relation, it would actually work a little bit better. I think it would actually look pretty cool then. I'm kind of on the fence about it right now, because I do actually really like the idea, and I think it could work, but I feel like the scale just isn't helping it. And it's also a little bit too straight-edged. I think maybe if I made the edges like wave around a little bit, or if I brought the stone up around it a little and kind of in-jogged it, that might work a little better to break up some of that straight line we've got going on. Not entirely sure. It also does seem it also does seem a little bit strange on the background, because the background is kind of this desaturated gray and brown and green, and then we've got the really vibrant like concrete powder textures. I think the only real solution to that, to make it blend in a little bit more, would be to make the entire cliff face out of concrete powder. So using light gray and brown and green concrete powder to make everything look a bit more vibrant and cartoony. And that would actually look really cool, I think. The big issue there is that if we did it on this cliff face, we would have to do it across the entire biome. Like, it would have to go everywhere. And that might look kind of cool. It might make this place feel really, really vibrant and cartoony and crazy. But it would also be a lot of work. Like, a lot of work. Which I'm not opposed to. I mean, I've never really shied away from doing obnoxiously large projects, but... Yeesh. So, I guess that's a thought if I wanted to keep the waterfall. You guys will have to let me know about this. I don't know if we should keep it or not. Because like I said, on this scale, it feels a little bit strange. But, I don't know. For the time being, I'll leave it. We'll see if I get used to it. It definitely does need to be tweaked if I do keep it. But a regular waterfall in its place would work just as well. Or probably better, realistically. So... I don't know about that. It is a thought, though. So if we ever have a giant area where we can put a cartoony waterfall, that is something we could do, and I think it might actually turn out okay in that situation. Anyway, enough about that. That's in place for now, and the cliffs are at least roughly in place. Obviously, I would like to continue them further on and refine the top, but it was taking ages. I figured I would move on. So, that being said, we're going to leave that how it is for the time being, and next up, I want to try and expand out into more of the land area of the biome. So far, nearly everything, other than our storage room, is centered around this lake area, and I want to change that. I want to try and move kind of inland a little bit, and take advantage of the entire biome when it comes to this project. So, the first part I want to do is work in this flat area here. I think that that's going to be handy to have, because most of this place is quite mountainous, and I don't know how I'm going to handle that, so I'm going to kind of slack off on trying to go over there. So for right now, I want to go into this flat area here. Now, this does lead to another problem, and that's that there's trees everywhere, and I do think we're going to try and get rid of every single tree across the entire biome. I'm not going to do it right now, obviously, but I'm probably going to clear out this entire section and get rid of all of that, because... realistically, the trees just feel kind of strange, because even the smallest flowers around here are the same size as the trees. It's just weird feeling, right? So I'm going to try and clear this entire area out, get rid of all of these trees, just smooth it all out, so we don't have any of those kind of weird, miniature feeling trees compared to our giant flowers. And then I'm going to reshape this area a little bit. I think I may actually want to put a river through it, just as a little bit of visual interest. Just a small little river to make it kind of look okay and connect out to the other ocean over there. And we'll see where we go from there. But the first step of the process, is going to be to clean this up and get it prepared for more additions. So I've cleaned up that entire area, kind of cleared things out, and it's a little rough. Obviously, we would want to add in a little bit more shape to the terrain and try and even things out a little bit, but for the most part, it's okay. It's at least there when we need it now, and I don't know if we're actually going to be utilizing it today or not. My intention was to build a couple extra, of the giant flowers over here, but this is the flattest area in the entire biome by far. There's a few other areas that aren't too bad, but a lot of it is super duper mountainous. So I almost feel like we should save this area and use it for something that can actually benefit from the lack of height variation. At the same time, it's not exactly a problem to work with height variation. In fact, it can frequently lead to cool builds, so I don't know, maybe I won't worry about it too much. But that is this area. Now, I probably should not have TNT'd to do the river. The river is kind of ugly, actually. I don't really like the shape of it. I mean, it's okay, but it's not as good as it would be if I had done it by hand. So I'm probably going to have to go back through here and to tweak this and waste all kinds of time doing that because I was too lazy to do it properly the first time. But I don't know. I guess for the time being it works and it gives you kind of an idea. So we can utilize this in a build or two somehow. I just wanted to have a proper river to work with, so that's nice. Even though it did take up a good chunk of this area, I should probably reduce it a little bit while I modify it. For the time being, though, that is that, and I think that's going to do just fine. It did take quite a bit longer than I thought it was going to, though. I am quite a ways behind. Why have these leaves still not despawned? Wait for it. There we go. So that did actually take quite a substantial amount of time. Way more time than I thought it was going to, much like the cliffs did, which is kind of a problem because today's episode was actually meant to be a particularly quick one for me because I am massively low on time this week. Man, this is terrible terrain. I really have to try and fix this up. So I'll have to do that at some other point. For right now, though, I want to try and take care of at least one more thing today. Because, like I said, it was meant to be quick. I am really short on time. But I would like to accomplish at least one more thing. And that is, as I said earlier, adding in a couple more flowers to our build. Because currently, well, we've got a few, but that's kind of the main focus of the entire biome. So I want to try and add a couple in. I'm not entirely sure that I should add them here. Like I said, it's the only flat area, but I guess that's fine. So I'm going to try and throw together a couple different flowers. I'll put them here for the time being. Worst case scenario, I have to move them later on. But I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple down in this area, probably just one or two for the time being. And we'll see what the biome looks like once we start adding more of these flowers in. Okay, so I've added in a couple new flowers. That way we can say we expanded our fantasy biome today. And I think they're okay. They could probably still use a little bit of tweaking yet. They're a little bit messy, but I think they get the job done. So this one over here is actually kind of like an azure bluette, which I realized after I built it. It's basically one single stem with a bunch of little flowers coming off of it, and I think it looks okay. Again, a little bit of tweaking to the shape and to the stem and all of that is probably necessary, but other than that, I think it's okay. I think if I made it more of a ball shape and made it actually look like the Azure Bluette does, like you can see how it's kind of a round shape and one stem, bunch of little flowers, you get the idea. If I made it a little more round and kind of fit that a little bit better, that would probably be pretty cool. So, I like that one. The other one is a little strange. I do really like the idea of it, but I think that I need to spend a bit more time trying to make it shaped properly. So, the idea was to have kind of these hanging, like, bell-shaped flowers, but I don't know. Like, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I know you guys criticize me for criticizing myself a lot. It's not terrible, but it's just a little messy feeling. I would like to clean it up a little bit and refine things a little bit. So I'll probably try and do that off camera at some point. Unfortunately, for right now, I'm probably going to have to call it a day, even though we didn't get like a crazy amount done. Like I said earlier, I am super duper time crunched, and unfortunately I've been kind of rushing to get this done, which I'm sure was evident and made the video terrible. Sorry. But it is what it is. I wanted to make sure I got a video out to you guys so I didn't have it delayed by several days and all of that nonsense. So, well, we're going to have to call it here for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, even if it was, you know, kind of sped up and a little chaotic. We did do some okay stuff. We tried out our cartoony waterfall thing, which I can't say we're going to be keeping that. I do like the idea. I still think that it could look really, really cool at a larger scale. And, I mean, maybe it could even work here if I would work on it a little bit more, refine the shapes a little bit more, maybe roughen the edges a little bit with some stones, that kind of thing. I think that maybe I could make that look a bit better that way. But I don't know. It may be better to just go with a normal waterfall in this situation. At the very least, we did get that area set up. We added in a bunch of cliffs and all of that good stuff. And of course, we'll be expanding that later on. Anyway, that is unfortunately going to have to do for today. I need to go edit this video together and then hopefully sleep. So I'm going to call it here. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed our kind of sped up episode. And, well, I'll see you guys next time.